Back to another AAU Overtime podcast. Jordan DeLuciano, as always. We came to you last night with John LaRochester for the first episode of the season, but now we're going back-to-back, second episode of the 2023 year. Joining us now, the University of Georgia Ice Hockey head coach and GM, John Camp. John, thanks for joining and welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, Jordan. Great seeing you again. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So, University of Georgia, it's been a long time coming through this program, long time here in the formerly CHF, now AAU. How do you feel the program has come to this point now with the addition as well with the D3 team along with the D1 team?
It's been really, unbelievable in a very good way. We've started out, I said, when I got down to Georgia, when I came down from Minnesota, we were a middle of the road, D3 team. We had a lot of, primarily made up of 18 UAA, and we had a couple guys from the NAL that really, gave the skill set up top. But, I look back at some of those game day rosters, and I look at where we're at today. We've had great players through this program, and they've helped put us on the map to attract other potential, prospective players that want to come into Georgia. Fortunately for us, Georgia's a great school. I mean, it's a good thing, bad thing. It's an average 4.0 to get in. Finding smart hockey players is nothing.
Yep. Not only do you got to be good in hockey, you got to be good in school as well. It's a tough combo. You got to
be really good in school, but that degree's worth gold. So I think let's face it. At the end of the day, that's one of the things that AAU hockey preaches is students first and student athletes, right? So these players that are realistic and that have had good advisors. I'm seeing there's a melting pot of advisors out there. You got both ends of the spectrum. The ones that are really truly being honest with the families and the hockey, the student athlete, they're giving them the direction now of AAU hockey and the schools that have the pedigree degree that can carry them into a great career, instead of maybe some of the other avenues that have been out there. The side benefits that you get out of it, that we specifically have here is, being a football powerhouse. Game day Saturdays down here are incredible. The tailgating, I grew up in Big Ten territory, and I thought that was the creme of the creme when it came to tailgating and game day. But I gotta be honest, it's just like a big, huge, spectacular event every Saturday in Athens here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a spectacle going on.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
So you get the student life, you get the degree, and then the hockey program's grown to the point where, we sell out. When we were in our old facility, I say old facility, we're kind of we can probably talk about that, but we're road warriors this year because the new arena is behind schedule. But we typically were selling out most of our games pre-COVID, and we were building it back up post-COVID to the 2,500 level of fans, selling out 400 season ticket holders. So to come into that environment, we're getting more and more people. I'm fortunate that I've been doing this a long time. I've got a lot of coaches recommending Georgia. They know me. They trust me. They can give the parents some type of confidence that, we're not going to mislead them when they come down here for their tour, give them a realistic view of what the opportunities are here to play hockey.
Sometimes like the recruiting, there's a lot of smoke that goes, a lot of smoke and mirrors that go into it. So players and families, they appreciate that honesty. But yeah, the new rink's set a little bit behind schedule. Any anticipation? Is there a date yet in the future of when that rink's going to be open?
Yeah, I just recently talked to Danny Bryant, who's going to be the general manager of the new arena, and I guess the contract is July 1st to have it completed.
This July 1st coming up of 24?
Yeah,
okay.
So, yeah, I've had people asking me to, every couple of weeks to post something on my Coach Campy Twitter account, and you can really see it popping out of the ground now. It doesn't look that far off that it's going to be. It should be under roof. I know that the Classic Center, who's going to be managing it, they've got plans to do hard hat tours in December when we do have some games in town. They're going to be. We're known for. A lot of people are shocked that we do the outdoor games here, but we're going to try to have some outdoor games in December. They're going to put the rink outside, do some hard hat tours for the fans to get an idea of what's coming.
Doing open outdoor games down south. It's not ideal because the weather you got to always take into account. But I know the NHL did it. They went all the way west. They had an outdoor game in California, so I guess if it could be done there, you guys could try it down there.
Well, we found a little benefit of having the covered parking decks, so it keeps the sun off it during the day. Because quite honestly, depending on the time of the year here. December, January, February, it's the 3 seasons. You can have summer, you can have fall, and you can have winter all in one day. You can start out at 65 degrees and finish up at 27 degrees.
Yeah, that's southern weather. Yeah, that's like in Georgia. My trips down to Florida, same thing. You could be torrential downpour for 20 minutes, and then it's gone, and then the sun's out. So it's just weird how it is, the weather down there.
But it's a lot going on this year between the new arena, the adding of the D3 team. Based on the popularity of the team, it's just the women's team also initiated play last year. They're moving into their second season. So the growth of hockey in the South is real.
It's getting like we talked about just a little bit before we went live. You're trying to grow hockey in areas that nobody really expected. Like we talked about Nashville for the NHL has now a big following, and growing hockey down south is it's on the up and up. It's on the rise. And a good way to do that is implementing now Division I, first year for Georgia and AAU Division I. What's the feeling like going into the season with that D1 banner and the expectation in terms of competition?
It's a good feeling. We feel that not just our program, but AAU as a whole and the teams that are going to be part of the D1 program have all worked hard to put themselves in a position to play at a higher level of hockey. Some of the players that I've seen, we went up to Buffalo last year. We played Jordan's team at St. Bonnie. We went to Niagara, and we were Tim's team at Buffalo State. And you see the growth, in the traditional market and the players that you wouldn't have normally seen there 5-10 years ago. Now we have those players, and we have a legitimate D1, banner to it. And I think that just helps us in a lot of ways. I mean, the players, they see what it's doing for the team in the sense of recruiting. They see the players we brought in, this year, which it really helped having a D3 team. Because I'll be honest with you, there was guys that ended up getting cut that were on the team last year. But at least we had somewhere for them to still go to continue their hockey. It's the tough part, but on the other side of it, it just shows you the growth that we're having. And I know the other teams are going through the same thing.
But I guess it's a good problem to have so much players and athletes that wanting to come to this program. There's only so much where you can fit into one team. So it's nice you have that option with the Division III team now. And like you mentioned, a lot of other teams are having this good but bad problem at the same time as well. Yeah. Can't really complain. So going into this year, just recently before the season started, you guys announced some captains and assistants coming this season. Robbie Whitwer will be the captain for Georgia. What was the decision making behind giving Robbie the C and then some other guys the A's as well? I see Jack Gannon as well, Sam Adler, as well as Josh Mazzaros.
Yeah, wherever I've been, I learned from one of the coaches that I was an assistant for years ago. I don't do the voting. I don't do the popularity contest. To me, the captain position is a sacred position of responsibility, of leadership. Quite honestly, it's a huge extension of the coaching staff, especially when you're at this level and you're not having practice every day. Having that locker room management, I guess is the best way to call it. One of the questions I ask my guys is the first question I was asked years ago when I was in high school, and I was asked about being a captain. And it's do you prefer to be liked or do you prefer to be respected? Very simple, right? You'd be shocked. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of the answers I get, I want to be liked.
If you're liked, they might see you as a friend instead of a leader, and that doesn't work at times.
Yeah. Well, I know the answer I gave back in the day to the coach was, listen, if it's great to be liked, but if I want to be liked by everybody, somewhere along the way, I'm going to compromise the values that my parents instilled in me. And then I'm not being genuine. Yep. Where if you're being respected, you're going to have tough decisions to make, and you're not always going to be right. But at the end of the day, if you're consistent and you know you're doing the right thing, someone may not want to talk to you for 2 weeks, but at the end of the day, they're going to respect you. And
Yep.
more than likely, they are going to be, maybe it's not the, hey, I love you as a friend, but they're going to respect the hell out of you.
And that respect can then translate, though, into a friendly relationship. You might not see eye to eye, but you get the guy and you get where they're coming from, and that could translate into something bigger. So I agree with that. If you're going to be a leader, you can't be everyone's friend. You got to make the tough decisions, like you said. So that's a big reason why these certain players have the C and A's on their jerseys.
Robbie was one of the recruits that was a tough one because he was a COVID recruit. I couldn't get out to games. I couldn't get out to the showcases. I'm hearing word of mouth through coaches. Robbie's brother played at Ole Miss, and tough kid to play against. And I'm thinking, if he's got half the genes his brother has, John Whitwer, and the leadership qualities that his brother had, I said, he'll be someone we can go with. And, Robbie came in here, he's not the tallest of stature, but I'll tell you what, we had tryouts, and his high school, Mullen High School out in Denver, gold Notre Dame helmets, and this kid's running around going after each of the biggest guys out there and just knocking them on their backside. But he was playing systems hockey. He was going out there understanding where he should, so everybody in the rink that was watching this, youth coaches, they were like, who's that kid with the gold helmet? And then as I got to know Robbie, and speaking to some of the people from Mullen, it's like this kid has always had leadership capabilities. And when I met the parents, kudos to them, because mom and dad did a phenomenal job with the boys, phenomenal job. And you can see how that passes down. And, Robbie is one of those ones that he'll make the tough decision and has that real pure, some people just have a pure ability to lead. And Robbie's one of those guys.
That unteachable aspect that, like you mentioned, not a lot of people have it. You just have it or you don't.
Yeah,
at times.
And I've got a really firm position that I tell them all the time, especially, this time of the year, I've been really harping it. It's like, listen, guys, stuff goes into the locker room. It happens every year, every team. It's just like a family. You're gonna have moments where you're kind of ticked off with somebody, or somebody didn't make the pass to you. It could be a lot of different things. Most of that stuff shouldn't get to me. It shouldn't get into my office. If it gets into my office, then we got a real problem. And I put that on them to, again, manage the locker room.
Once it goes outside the doors, then it becomes a little bit bigger of an issue. But more times than not, it does stop at the locker room door, the issues. And then they go away quick.
Exactly.
So coming in this year, any seniors that graduated last spring that you got to replace any productivity on the ice going into this season? Or did you lose a lot? Did you lose a little?
We didn't lose a lot in quantity, but we lost a lot in leadership. In the sense of we lost Cameron Campbell, Soup. We lost him. He graduated. He was a December graduate. And then Matt Bigda took over the C for the spring semester. Matt was perennial first line player, one of our top scorers. Again, a true leader. Cam, true leader. And then we had Bubba, William McDonald. Bubba was just one of those guys. It was if any of the old timers out there remember Kenny Lintzman, he was the guy that got under everybody's skin on the opposing team, and so he brought a lot of that just pure energy, fireball to the team. And right now it's time for some other guys to step up and replace that.
Yeah, that guy that you love to have on your team, but you hate to be on
Absolutely.
the other team. Yeah, one of those players.
You want to kill him, but you love him when he's on your team.
Exactly. You like him when he's on your side. So at Nationals, you guys make it out of pool play. You guys wind up getting eliminated by Tampa. What was that Nationals experience, considering the year before you guys got knocked out of pool play? This year, you win your pool and you move on to the next round. Where's the next stepping stone now for Georgia?
Yeah, that was a huge 360 of emotion. We went OT with St. Bonnie. We had played them earlier in the year to a tie. We go to overtime this time. Two super evenly matched teams. I respect the hell out of Jordan, what he does with that team, class team. And we ended up on the fortunate side of it in OT and took us out of pool play. And, we were emotions are super high, happy. Turn around the next day, pretty even game through most of the game. We're out there on the PP trying to tie it, and it was just one of those ones. One of the guys with the hardest shot on the team missed the net, rims around right when the guys come out of the penalty box, and put the game away.
There's weird bounces that can decide a game and an entire tournament. You're on the power play, it rims all the way out, and it's a breakaway the other way.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've been through training camp and through each practice we've had so far. I'm telling the boys, hockey's a game of, I tell them it's a game of blessings. We've all been gifted with the opportunity to do what we're doing, but it's also a big game of lessons. And as long as you're learning from the lessons, when those things go tough or go south, even in the middle of a game, it's how we react and how we rebound. It's really going to define who we are at the end of the year and how far we go.
So for this year, you mentioned before you went up north, played Bonnie's at some of the upstate New York teams. This year, you're coming to Long Island playing Farmingdale, and then you got Quinnipiac as well. So good experience for the team, getting not just a taste of down south, once again going up north with two new faces in Quinnipiac and Farmingdale.
Yeah. Well, we're having a barbecue in your backyard, aren't we?
Yeah, you guys are right. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be calling that game. I think you got us twice, so I'll be calling both those games you come.
No, we're looking forward to it. Again, as you know, I've got a background from being up there, a lot of work out of the rinks with some of the teams and the goals. But, we've got 4 players from the island, 3 of them right there from Long Beach. We added a new player, James Hedquist from Floral Park. So it's kind of going back to the old neighborhood. I used to work in Garden City. We'll be staying up there and playing. I haven't been to the new rink yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing that place. But yeah, Farmingdale's tradition. I remember, we got knocked out in nationals back in Columbus, Ohio by Farmingdale. So I still, Joe's up on me and wins. So.
He's got a 1-0 advantage. Still holding on to that, I see. Still holding on. It should be a good one. Like you mentioned, a couple kids from Long Island, so crowd should be pretty well attended that weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think we're probably going to have a strong following up there. And we've got a lot of fans from down here. We call them super fans. They follow us around the country, and they'll be up there too.
Yeah, I see them tailgating at nationals the last 2 years. We're rocking their red and black for the Bulldogs. Yeah. So last, before I get you go, any goals for the future of the program for Georgia? Anything you got lined up? I know, as always, coming up in January, you got the Savannah Classic. That's always a big one, big turnout. Anything different happening in that tournament this year?
Yeah, matter of fact, yes. We've got a new team coming in. So it's going to be Georgia Tech, our perennial rival at the Savannah tournament, but we've got Florida and we've got now Tennessee, which was one of the original teams. So for those who aren't familiar with Savannah tournament, it's basically the southern version of the Bean Pot that they run with the NCAA up in Boston. It's unbelievable. I know when they were recruiting me when I came on as coach, they were hyping up the Savannah thing, and I just kept scratching my head. I mean, these guys serious? Hockey takes over Savannah and for an entire weekend, and it's true. I mean, it was last year for the first time. It was in the new arena where the East Coast Ghost Pirates play out of, and before that, it was in the Savannah Civic Center, and the Savannah Civic Center that held, I think, 5,500 to 6,000, and it was always a sellout the second night. First night you'd get into that high 4s. Second night, for the championship game, and a lot of times it was usually us in Georgia Tech or us in Florida in those games, and you got a packed barn. So a lot of times that's the most fans that our players have played in front of. And the guys now who've been through it year after year are really preaching to the new players. It's like, listen, we got to win it. This is like something, it has just as much emotion as when you get to the end of the season going through playoffs and championship rounds between conferences and things like that.
It has the intensity and feel of you have conference playoffs and nationals, but it's like its own mini playoffs. And right at the beginning of or midway part of January, but it kicks off the second half of the season. So what a way to get things going immediately.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming back. That's why coaches, we're all holding our breaths that these we're keeping tabs that they're working out and staying in shape. And as soon as they get back on campus, I mean, we're hitting the ice and practicing and going in, hoping to win.
It doesn't slow down for you. Yeah, you guys go from the Savannah tournament to then pretty much right around the corner. You got conference playoffs, and then boom, you're at nationals. So three tough goes right off the bat to kick off 2024 for Georgia. But John, thanks for joining me once again on the podcast. I appreciate your time and the information. Good luck the rest of the way, and I'll see you soon when you guys come up to play Farmingdale for back.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you gotta win to try to snatch over Maisie, and that weekend.
Tough. He always has a tough team, man. He's always prepared. Good coach.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that. When Georgia comes up north, they play Farmingdale twice, and they play Quinnipiac as well in the Savannah tournament coming up in January. Once again, John Camp alongside myself, Jordan DeLuciano. Thanks for joining us for the AAU Overtime Podcast. We'll see you all next week.